It's Friday Night Live, and we are so glad that you're with us. Let us know that you're here and that you're online. We'd like to chat with you. You can already tell that I have a different co-host tonight. We're missing Jen tonight, but I did pick a good one. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name's Chris, and I am Wendy's husband. I'm also a believer in Jesus, and I struggle with fear and insecurity.
And my name is Wendy, and I am a grateful follower of Jesus, and I struggle in the area of control and codependency. And we are so glad that you're with us tonight. We see Sabrina already on. We are going to have some fun tonight because earlier today I was chatting with Chris, and I said, well, we're just going to banter a little bit at the beginning. And he kind of looked at me and he laughed, and he said, I was like, I like that word.
And so it's a funny word.
It's a funny word. So we're going to just chat a little bit about celebrating, because we call ourselves Celebrate Recovery. And so we just want to take a couple of minutes and talk about celebrating. And so today I Googled it, like I do a lot of things. And it says, celebrating is an appreciation of the process, your effort, those who have supported you along the way, and where you would like to go next. And so we want to talk about that. Some of the ways that we can celebrate and why we celebrate. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why we celebrate. We celebrate because it builds our self-respect. We celebrate because it encourages us and others. It develops in us a success mindset. It feels good, and it actually releases happy, I'm not going to use the right word, so just happy feelings. Yep, they just happy feelings. So that's why we celebrate. We also celebrate because in Philippians 4:4 it says, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. So even the Bible says, let's celebrate.
Okay.
So what are some ways that we can celebrate, Chris?
That's a good question, Wendy. And I'll put that question out to you guys. What are some ways that you guys celebrate? Let us know in the comments. So some of the ways that we've made note of here is just noting the victories. Are we looking for things to celebrate? Some of the obvious ones, I mean, we celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, and we just celebrated some of that last month, and that was fun.
Yeah.
But what about in recovery? Are we celebrating our milestones? Are we celebrating the small victories that we have? We should be on the lookout for those. We need to get excited. We need some enthusiasm in our celebrating. Otherwise, it's just kind of boring and dull. We got to get excited about it. Acknowledge the effort, because recovery is hard work. We're going to talk a bit about that tonight in our own story. And recovery is hard work. We can acknowledge that effort and celebrate that. Unplug for a night. Take these things and chuck them out the window. Focus on somebody else and connect with people. And don't always be focused on your device. Take a gratitude night, or take a gratitude pause. What are you thankful for? What is good in your life? Be grateful for that and share it with somebody. Journal about it. Write things down in your journal and make note of it. You can go back later and celebrate it all over again when you reread it. Schedule a fun time out. And I know this is an awkward time with this COVID and social, physical distancing and all this stuff, but make an effort to get out and to celebrate some way that you can. And communicate your successes. Send a text, send an email, pick up a telephone, make a phone call, do a Zoom meeting. There's all kinds of ways that we can connect and share our victories with other people.
I just want to check online here. I don't often get a chance to do this. So we've got Angela's on there, and Paula and Joy, and there's a happy anniversary. That's awesome. Thank you. We are so glad that you're with us. I should have been watching as they were scrolling, but I wasn't. We are so privileged to be able to, again, just thank Chris and Joy for being with us tonight and having a time of worship. So we're going to take a few minutes and take a pause and do some worship.
Build your kingdom.
Welcome back. Thank you so much, Chris and Joy, for worshiping with us tonight and leading us through worship. We have seen some anniversary, and it's Chris and Joy's 22nd wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary to you. Yay! And I don't know how to do the little thingies, so we're just going to have to, yay! I'll learn, but not today. And there's so many other people. Christine is on, and Paula and Brianne. It's so good to have you guys with us tonight. Chris, you're going to walk us through some
I am.
announcements.
Welcome to everybody out there. We're grateful that you're here with us tonight. It's kind of weird doing this. It's the first time for me. I'm used to being on stage. I can see my audience. I know who's watching me. Here, I have no idea. So, hi. If it is your first time, if you're new, we'd invite you tonight to join Wendy for a Zoom meeting for Celebrate Recovery 101. And that's going to walk you through what Celebrate Recovery is all about. And it's a good opportunity. You need to send an email to cr@creeksidechurch.ca, and you'll get a Zoom link from that, and you'll be able to join Wendy for that a little bit later.
So cool.
Our other open share, men's and women's open share groups will start at 8 p.m. Sharp. After we're done here, there'll be a little bit of a pause, and then the Zoom groups will start. But again, if you don't have the link, you need to send an email to cr@creeksidechurch.ca, and they will send you the link for that. Celebrations. If you're celebrating a milestone in your recovery, we want to hear about it. So send an email to cr@creeksidechurch.ca. Better yet, send us a video of just a little short bit of your story, and maybe you'll see it on a Friday Night Live sometime.
For sure.
CR Summit is coming up, and this year it's open to everybody.
Yay!
So summits are a great opportunity to learn more about Celebrate Recovery. And if you're interested at all, again, send an email to cr@creeksidechurch.ca, and you'll get some more information. I want to shout out to the CP groups out there, the kids and leaders. We're so grateful for you. We miss you, and we hope to be back together again someday, soon-ish.
We do. You like that CR@Creekside Church thing,
fun.
don't you? You really like that. I'm glad. Oh, so cool. We are, I'm just going to see if I can see some comments here. This is awkward, I know, but we are so glad to be here tonight. And tonight, we are just going to take an opportunity to share a bit of our story. And as Chris said, it is kind of weird doing it to a camera, and but we're going to try to just talk to you as though you're sitting here in the room with us, and just tell you a little bit about our journey. And so before recovery, I'm going to be honest, we were on a fast track to marital and personal ruin. Something needed to change.
After years of floundering through life on my own, God led us to Creekside Church, and then to Celebrate Recovery. When I started recovery 11 years ago, I didn't believe it would work. I was fighting against a 30-year-old habit that I had tried so many times to quit, that was so ingrained in my life, and it was destroying it. This was going to be tough. I had known that I needed to change for many years, but now I was ready for change. And so the work began. Initially, it was just Thursday nights at a CR group. And then I formed an accountability team. I started serving in tech, and then step studies 1 and 2. Then I started to lead an open share group, and then some more step studies, along with various other service and leadership roles. As I look back now, I see that this was a very significant point in my life. And this is definitely worth celebrating. But at the time, I didn't see that.
When Chris started recovery, I thought I really didn't need it. And yet my behaviors and my habits shouted otherwise. I habitually went from blaming Chris for all of our problems to assuming all responsibility for it so that I could control it, and it resulted in overfunctioning. bombarding him often with opinions and accusations, using belittling and passive aggressive comments to control, and it wasn't working. I don't know, I know now, which I really, really appreciate, it wasn't my responsibility to change him. It wasn't my responsibility to do this in his life. And so I'm going to be honest, I still try sometimes, but the only person that I can change is myself. And thus, my journey of recovery and growing a personal relationship with Jesus began. And that is something I should have been celebrating at that time, but I'm not sure that I really did.
Sorry, finding my place. My old habit was where I went to feel better when life got me down. It was always there waiting, like a faithful dog sitting by the door. The more I indulged this habit, the more it sucked me in. I began to arrange my life around and in support of my habit. Staying up late into the night, working late, working weekends. The toll for all this was paid out of the relationships closest to me, my wife and kids. I was unavailable physically, and when I was home, the shame had drained me emotionally. The deeper my habit took me, the worse things got, and it took a visit by the police one night to snap me out of the denial that this isn't a problem or this isn't impacting anyone else. Pulling my head out of the sand, aka coming out of denial, is another point of celebration.
And my habits, they help me feel secure and safe and valued and heard and seen. As a child, my physical needs were taken care of and they were met. And yet, I was left to figure out my own emotions on my own. Thus, a need for coping strategies. Task, it allowed me to feel valued and seen, and it helped distract from the lack that I was experiencing. Codependency showed up as control, which gave me a false sense of security and power. And self-sufficiency helped me manage my expectations of others, because if I kept them at an arm's length and I had no outward expectation of them, I believed that I would be less disappointed. All the while, I was building up a case in my mind as to why I was not enough and I wasn't loved. The habits inhibited me from having any close relationships with God or others. These habits and desires, they didn't disappear when I got married or when I had kids or as I traveled through adult life. Was I surprised that they didn't disappear? Yeah, I think I was a little surprised because I think unconsciously I thought that I would feel less alone and that I would feel I would feel more loved when I moved into these relationships. As I moved through these transitions, that's not what happened. But I was looking for my security and my hope in something that couldn't offer it. I needed these coping strategies to survive when I was a child, but now they weren't working for me. And the consequences, like ruined relationships or strained relationships, stress, isolation, anxiety, and hopelessness, these were huge indicators that it was time for me to change.
Throughout this process of recovery, I learned some new habits, like daily quiet time, attending recovery meetings, attending church, staying in community, being accountable, and gradually that 30-year-old habit was broken. My first few years in recovery, though, were some of the most difficult yet rewarding years in my life. Admitting that I didn't have it all together, talking about the crap in my life that I had worked so hard to keep secret, admitting my mistakes to others, and asking for forgiveness, being vulnerable, and sharing feelings I didn't even know I had. Another habit that had grown for me comes right out of Principle 7. Reserve a daily time with God for self-examination, Bible reading, and prayer. This helps me start my day off strong, and it's cultivating a more personal relationship with Jesus. Regular meetings with accountability partners have become one of my favorite new activities. My old habit kept me in isolation, and I didn't even know what I was missing out on. These new relationships have a deep bond that I have never before experienced. When I can connect with someone that knows my struggle, that understands the present pain of past mistakes, when I can share openly and honestly without judgment or shame, there is peace and comfort in that. Some new habits can seem insignificant, and they could almost escape this list, but in reality, they played such a huge role in my recovery. For example, going to bed with or before my wife, getting up together with her, eating breakfast together, and eating dinner together almost every day. This has drawn us closer, and it's given us an opportunity to connect. It doesn't always go well. We still fight. We still go back to old coping sometimes, but this recovery journey we're on and these new habits that we've formed have given us new tools to get back on track faster. Mm-hmm. For this, we celebrate.
For this, we celebrate. I repeat that line to remind myself that celebrating is important. Celebrating isn't something that I have done very well at. I've had to work on it, and I've had to learn how to do that. I used to believe that if I knew that I needed to change, well, then I should be able to do it perfectly and immediately. And so, for example, I understood that control wasn't working, so I should just be able to stop. Well, that left little room for grace and left a lot of room for disappointment and failure. Breaking old habits and creating new ones proved harder than I thought it would. It required hard work, perseverance, patience, compassion, practice, and Jesus. Doing it in my own strength never yielded long-term results. And I realized quickly that there was no such thing as a quick fix. As I created new daily habits based on working the steps and the principles and growing my relationship with Jesus, my old habits became increasingly unnecessary. As I deconstructed the lies that led to my old habits, it allowed me to address my hurt underneath. Working through the inventory process and making amends has played a huge part in identifying the hurt and the unhealthy habits. Acknowledging the things that I had done to hurt others and the things that others had done to hurt me revealed patterns and habits that needed to be changed so that the cycle would stop. Counseling has given me the opportunity to explore how the fear of rejection and abandonment and how emotional neglect has played a part in my life. As I've allowed myself, this has allowed me to grow in self-awareness and has equipped me with new tools to navigate my emotions and my triggers, putting healthy habits in place so I can be well emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually. This has made a huge difference in my recovery. As I practice these new habits, I've learned to embrace awkward, and people have heard me say that, awkward and uncomfortable. It doesn't come naturally to do something new and different. It sometimes means doing things awkwardly as we push through the hard so that we can experience something new and better. Sometimes I don't catch myself quite fast enough and I use one of my old coping mechanisms. And I have to go back and I have to make amends. In these times, I have to remind myself that I have used some of these coping strategies for decades, and it's going to take a while to create new ones. Replacing the hurtful, self defeating behaviors and habits with something new and positive, like spending time with Jesus, capturing my thoughts and seeking truth, or journaling, staying connected with my community, has proved to be extremely valuable. A quick conversation with Jesus can help me from, like a tsunami, going into a shame storm that just with a little bit of attention and a little bit of time with my Jesus could be averted. I have to work hard on that. Oh, I just read one of Chris's lines. I went way too far down. That was kind of funny. As I grow in self-awareness, I am able to understand what habits I need to create, adjust, maintain, so that I can experience the joy and peace that God has for me.
The healing process was hard for me. It hurt. It exposed all my flaws and my shortcomings. It dredged up the pain of the past. It poked at my fears and insecurities. It gave me every opportunity to bail out, to quit, and to go back to my old familiar habit. I wanted recovery to be a quick fix. 11 years later, I'm realizing there's many layers to recovery. I started because of a specific destructive habit in my life. And I worked hard on that. And gradually I gained sobriety in it. And realized that behind that habit, there were hang-ups. My hang-ups were fear and insecurity. And I used my habit to soothe those hang-ups. Behind my hang-ups are hurts. And I suspect that I'm probably going to need some professional help, counseling, to dig deeper and to work on those hurts in my life. Celebrate Recovery is a Christ-centered recovery program. Jesus Christ is my higher power. And I don't have to make this journey on my own or in my own strength. Which is good, because I can't do that. I've tried many times. Principle 2 says, earnestly believe that God exists, that I matter to him, and that he has the power to help me recover. I like that I matter to God. And I love that he has the power to help me recover, because I sure don't. I also love that I can do this in a community that I fit into so well, as a screwed up, messed up, imperfect misfit. There was a point, and I can't put a specific date on it, when the tide shifted. The habit was broken, the pain lessened. Not to say that it's gone completely. Temptation is always lurking around the next corner. Triggers arise from the most innocent conversations. But life is better. It is easier than it was 11 years ago. Sometimes it takes moments like this when I'm encouraged to look back, to step back, and see just how far I and we have come. God's healing power works in our lives. It really does. I've experienced it. And believe me, I was a huge skeptic when I started this journey. Only God can bring us to wholeness, because only God knows what wholeness looks like. All I have ever known is this broken and messed up world. I was raised and taught by messed up people. How could I know any better? Knowing where to look for my example, knowing where to look for my hope, and knowing where to look for my salvation. That is worth celebrating.
It's hard not to interrupt him while he's talking because it's like, yeah, I agree with that. My journey has been a little messy. Well, okay, it's been a lot messy. I continue to learn to embrace the mess and persevere through the hard. Celebrate Recovery has provided me with a community where I can practice and learn how to show up authentically, accepting and loving all of me, the strong, vibrant parts of me, and the weak, broken parts of me. Feeling emotions and giving them space without squashing them with an old habit takes practice and curiosity. Giving myself permission to hold and feel more than one emotion at a time, even emotions that are like quite just diverse and opposite and conflicting, like joy and sorrow, it has opened up a whole new world to me. As a child, I was asked, are you happy or are you sad? And when I was asked that question, I was asked to choose one that was wrong or one that was right. Instead, I can actually hold both of those feelings at the same time. I have found such freedom in the fact that I don't actually have to choose which emotion is okay, because they all are okay. As I dig into the Bible and I explore who I am in Christ and who Jesus is, I am able to live freely as Christ's daughter instead of being bound by the patterns and the habits of my past. I'm experiencing change and growth. Not perfectly. Even though I'm not doing it perfectly, my hurts, my hang-ups, and my habits are losing their grip. I am enjoying what God is doing in my life and in our marriage. God's healing power works in our lives, bringing us to wholeness, as Chris talked about.
One of the things that got me here today is that I never quit. I never gave up. I kept coming back. There are so many factors that played into that, like the hope that I got from listening to a testimony, the friends that I made at Celebrate Recovery, the encouragement I received from those friends, accountability partners, my sponsor, serving behind the soundboard, experiencing small victories, experiencing bigger victories, sharing my story with someone else, step studies, leading groups. I could go on and on for a while. It's been 11 years. This is an awkward transition. I apologize, but I'm just going to put it out there. I ride my bicycle every day. I like riding. I like to ride as fast as I can. I am competitive. One of the things I do to help me win at this is I pedal constantly. I never coast. I pedal down hills and I pedal right up to the white line at stoplights. Pedaling keeps me moving forward. It's a good habit for me. If I ever did stop pedaling, I would eventually stop moving. That's kind of like my recovery journey. If I stop working the steps and principles, I'm going to stop moving forward. I need to continue to take one day at a time, and each day I need to make the choices that will move me forward in life and in recovery.
He is competitive. I have found that the consistency of my habits, especially Principle 7, as Chris mentioned, reserving a daily time with God for self-examination, Bible reading, and prayer in order to know God's will for my life and to gain the power to follow His will. It needs to be a priority in my life. If it's not a priority, then the old patterns start to creep back in. I can't do this. I can't do this once and then I'm all done. Like I can't just do Principle 7 once and I'm all done. It is a day by day decision that takes hold more and more as time passes. As I am patient and I am persistent, like Chris said, not stopping, then there are lots of opportunities to celebrate. As I break through the sadness and the pain, I can experience times of celebration, joy, and laughter. When I work the steps and principles, each day is one day closer to freedom. That is something to celebrate.
I don't know where you're at in your recovery journey. You may be just starting out, or you may have been traveling this journey for a while. Wherever you are, I want to encourage you to keep moving forward. It can be hard. I get that. I've been there. You may be in a tougher situation than I have ever been. And you're thinking right now, Chris, you have no idea what I'm going through. And you're right, I don't. What I do know is that our God has already won the battle. And that as his children, we get to share in that victory. What I do know is that greater is he that is in the world than he that is...
You got this. Try it again.
What I do know is that...
We made it this far. This is awesome.
Take 3. I'm sorry. What I do know is that greater that is he that is in me than he that is in the world.
There you go.
Our higher power, Jesus Christ, died on a cross to pay the penalty for our sin. And then he rose from the dead. Jesus Christ, our God, our higher power, has defeated death. As believers, that same power that raised Christ from the dead is available to you and to me. That, my friends, is something to celebrate. Thanks for letting us share.
I hear the comments going, but what we're going to do right now is we're going to head into worship, and then I'm going to read through some of those comments because I heard it dinging. We are so thankful that we had the opportunity to be with our community tonight, but we invite Chris and Joy. Whew. Now it's my turn. But yes, we invite Chris and Joy back.
You have never failed me yet. Waiting for change to come, knowing the battle's won. For you have never failed me yet. Promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hand. This is my confidence. You've never failed me yet. promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. I'm still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never fail. Promise still stands. Great is your faithfulness, faithfulness. Still in your hands. This is my confidence. You never failed me yet. You never failed me yet. I never will forget. You never failed me yet.
And we're back.
And we're back. And this time I'm going to put our little logos up because I forgot last time. Oh, and we do have the email address. We're good. We're
Cool.
good.
I like
It's-
to point to them.
You do. It has been awesome to be with you. We've read through some of the comments, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not as good as Jen at doing the shout outs, but we really appreciate you guys creating a community outside on your comments, and shout outs to all of you, and thank you for being with us, because I don't want to leave anybody out. And I tell you, if I'm really honest, I can't read the small print. So to see it, I'd have to get really close to the screen, and you don't want to see that. So we are going to wrap up this night thanking Chris and Joy. That was an amazing song, and I love it because I get to actually hear it when I'm here on the couch. So it was awesome. It was amazing. And there was comments about that. I know that because, well, the song was on. I was peeking. But so announcements. Email us if you have any prayer requests. If you have any questions or any celebrations, let us know that. And check out our CR Canada webpage. There's some other churches on there that are going live, and there's just some other information that you can check out. So check out CR Canada's Facebook page and like and share it too. And don't forget to like and share our page as well. So I want to, before we go, the open share question is, I'm going to bring it up on the screen. It is, what stood out to you in tonight's testimony? And I would love, before we go, I would just love to read this blessing for you. May the Lord bless and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. And that's my blessing for you today. So, like we do, we are going to say goodnight.
Good night, dear.
No, not to them, not to me.
Sorry. Night.
Good night. It was great to be with you tonight. In the comments, shout out who our Serenity Prayer person is, and yeah, good to be with you. Have a great weekend.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as Jesus did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will, so that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with you forever in the next. Amen.